Hi, I'd like a number 7 with fries and a Coke, please. Hey everybody, this is Ryan coming to you with another traction tip. And today we're talking all about cars and accountability. Actually, I was talking to a business recently, not a client of mine. And they said, Ryan, we tried that EOS stuff, but it didn't work for us. I said, what do you mean? And they said, we couldn't get our rocks done. We never got our goals done. We never got our to-dos done. So we just quit it and went back to the old way of doing business. And the more I thought about it, I thought, that's kind of crazy. That's like saying I bought a car, but then I realized you had to put gas in it. And I thought, who'd put gas in a car? So I'd rather go back to walking than put a gas in my car. It's about that silly. So today we want to talk about what sets a good company apart from a great company. It's really that discipline, that execution, that accountability that leads to traction. And that's one thing I've noticed. When we set rocks in our quarterly sessions, you normally leave and you're motivated. Pretty quickly that motivation wears off, and that's where discipline has to kick in. Discipline will lead to habit. So we want to keep pushing through, and finally once that hard work turns into a habit, then it's much easier to do. But it's motivation, discipline to habit. So today the tips around accountability should help you through that discipline stage. So here's my favorite tips on accountability. The first one is when you're setting rocks, when you're setting to-dos, especially rocks, set them well. We should set SMART rocks. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. That means when we're setting them together, make sure that we get specific. Think of these rocks as little projects, and we're building a project plan. So whether you do it in the session or you do it as homework, make these rocks SMART. That's listing the bullet points. What do you really mean? We want to remove all the ambiguity. And by the way, this is your chance to weigh in. If you own that rock, or if you don't, it's your chance to weigh in, give your 2 cents, make suggestions on how the rock needs to be completed, when it needs to be completed by, or ultimately what the end result needs to look like. And 2, I recommend when you're setting rocks, set them as a team. I typically don't recommend that the leader assign rocks, because it's all about weigh in equals buy in. If you want your people to buy into their rock, let them have some input weighing in when we're setting them. So set rocks instead of assign rocks. Another thing, as you're building in those bullet points to the rock, consider monthly or regular updates. In other words, if you're working on a project, if you're working on a process, for example, don't wait till the end of the quarter to deliver the process. Build in a 1-month checkup to kind of deliver the first draft or deliver the second draft. That way we can make sure we're on track and we don't spend a lot of time doing work that's headed in the wrong direction. Another thing, look at your SMART steps each week. When you're in your level 10 and you're reporting on your rock, saying if it's on track or off track, look at those lists of SMART steps if you want to really get clear on, hey, am I really on track or off track? The second point is set a rock block. A rock block, you'll remember from a previous video, rock block is just a set of time on your calendar where you're going to work on rocks and to-dos. I used to come out of my level 10 meetings, I'm pumped, I'm energized, I'm energetic, and I'd go check email for the next hour. Probably the lowest value thing I could do. So I started setting a rock block on my calendar to come out of my level 10s and immediately work on my rocks and my to-dos, to proactively work on them. You'd be amazed at how much that on the business time can really help us make progress. By the way, don't plan your weeks and plan your days when you get to work. I have a calendar item that pops up at 9 p.m. every Sunday night that says plan the week. I like to look at my week, look at my rocks, look at my to-dos, make sure I've got some time scheduled to work on those. If you wait till Monday morning to try to plan your week, it's too late. You're already in the middle of the fires at that point. So plan that time early. The next tip here is really, it's the job of the integrator. Accountability is all about the integrator. The integrator should be the ultimate person. He or she should be holding the team accountable. It's all about LMA. When the integrator sees something going off track, whether the person's reporting it off track or not, when you see it off track, address it quickly. Don't wait till the end of the quarter. It'll be way too late. So integrator, Mr. or Miss Integrator, jump in there, meet with your people regularly, make sure that they are on the right track. But another point along those lines, on good teams, the integrator holds everyone accountable. On great teams, the whole team holds everyone accountable. So don't be afraid to speak up. If you see a rock heading sideways, bring it up. It's easy. It's very easy as a member of the leadership team to let somebody off the hook. You're busy, they're busy, and it's easy just to skip it and say, we'll deal with it later. No, you've got to call it. You got to hold them accountable. Because if you don't hold them accountable, nobody's going to hold them accountable. So you got to remember, accountability is everybody's job. Another interesting point, as the visionary and integrators go, so goes the rest of the leadership team. So if the visionary and the integrator, if they're not doing their to-dos, if they're not working on their rocks, then guess what? The leadership team's not going to either. And as the leadership team goes, so goes the rest of the company. So there's a chain reaction here. People, They do what they see you do. They don't do what you say. So whether you like it or not, you are an example, so be a good example. As I mentioned earlier, when you're in your level 10s reporting on your rocks and your to-dos, be honest and give feedback. Be honest with your feedback. Don't let each other off the hook. Give that regular feedback. Another interesting point, after we have our quarterly EOS meetings, you should be scheduling that state of the company. If you really want to build some extra accountability in, tell your entire company how the leadership team did on their rocks last quarter, and then tell them what the leadership team's rocks are for the upcoming quarter. That builds in that ultimate accountability. If you know, I've got to tell my team, the whole company that is, how we did on rocks this quarter. So keep that in mind. It's extra accountability there. Another point, 555s, you should be having a 555 with each of your direct report. That includes integrator. With everybody on the leadership team, you should be having a 555. That's a great time to talk about rocks. How did we do on rocks last quarter? How are we doing on rocks this quarter? So bring up those 555s. Make sure you're having them. Make sure you're talking about things like rocks and to-dos, because ultimately that's what it's all about. If you find that you're stuck, if you find that you just aren't making enough progress, pick an accountability partner. Pick somebody on the team that'll help hold you accountable, just a little extra accountability on a weekly basis. And if you feel like, Ryan, I don't have enough time, then do the delegate and elevate tool. Open your leadership team manual, flip to the toolbox in the back. I think it's page 26. Do that delegate and elevate tool. In the old days, I did it once a year. Now I do it once a quarter. Trust me, with new opportunities and new things that I want to do, that means I've got to give up something. I only have so much time in the day. So I delegate and elevate to my unique ability every single quarter, and you should think about that too. Ultimately, if somebody's not getting their rocks and to-dos done, you got to coach them up or coach them out. As hard as that is to say, you got to coach them up or coach them out. The good news is most people are coachable and you can coach them up. But if they do not get that work done, listen, rocks and to-dos, that's your job. It's not some ancillary. It is your job. It's what you are paid to do. In fact, it really should be the most important part of your job. One of the most important parts. If you're not getting that done, I question if you're the right person. So eventually it's going to lead to a strike. If you are the wrong person, if you're not getting rocks and to-dos done, it's going to be strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. So at the end of the day, if somebody cannot execute, you got to question whether that's the right person in the right seat. Last point here. You can't have accountability without consequences. So that's why you really do have to hold people's feet to the fire. Many years ago, I had an employee that just simply couldn't get things done. I thought it was only affecting that one person. I drug my feet. It took me months. We finally got rid of that person. And the entire culture, the entire morale turned around. Everybody started to get more done because one bad apple had pulled the culture down, had been a cancer to that culture. So one bad hire, one person not getting their rocks and to-dos done will have a big negative impact. It'll spiral the whole team down. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, I was talking to a company a while back and they've been implementing on their own for a while. And after about 8 or 9 months, they asked themselves, they said, are we really committed to this process? And I would ask you, you got to commit. You got to go into this knowing that EOS is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. That means there's some hard work. We know what to do, but we've got to do it. But the payoff is immense. If we can do this work, if we can execute on our plan, the payoff, it's our goals. It's achieving every goal that we set. So at the end of the day, the payoff is worth it. So hopefully these accountability tips have helped. If you still struggle, if you're still having issues, give me a call and I'll help you with some motivation there. So talk to you next time. Have a great week.